Hi YouTube, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. I've had on my mind Zionist churches and the Western, meaning like mainly the United States, but there's Western European, well, like the Catholic Church, Rome, Germany, um, a lot of cultures that has had a major influence through with Judaism through Christianity. And we could go back where, in the passage where Abraham will have many offsprings, just because something claims themselves to be an Abrahamic religion or um, Christian, having those values does not make it so. I was talking today on how, like in Judaism, they make sacrifices, and there's a lot of Christian churches that are still making sacrifices when supposedly Christ made the ultimate and last sacrifice. But there were only 10 commandments and only 7 deadly sins that the Jews were asked to abide by, and they didn't do that. They ended up with another covenant. I do believe there's something like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like about 600 laws they observed because they didn't want to observe the ones that God told them to. And in that reaction, their temple will be destroyed again. It's a synagogue of Satan. So, I'm going to be talking about Ethiopian Christianity and my respect for those people and why. Not everything that's written in their Bible, which I have read, is like, I don't think any holding text right now, unless it's the ancient Greek that most scholars are too lazy to read. You don't sit there and get an English translation of what the Greek was. You learn how to read the ancient Greek so you know what the truth is within those texts. And then you also have to be careful on who's doing the translating. So if you're doing things yourself, like I'm learning ancient Greek, if you're doing things yourself, and I've always focused on the Greek because I knew how the Masons changed the language with the Merriam-Webster dictionary and the King James, and now other offshoots of those scriptures, texts, are being passed around like they're righteous and like this is the word of God when it actually isn't. Now, I'll tell you in a minute here. Let me light my cigarette. Why I have respect for the Ethiopians' mindset. They believe in God. They believe in a Messiah. They believe in Satan, not as far as worshiping him. But this is something that they do different within their culture that is more of a humanitarian nature. It's more of a natural um, taking responsibility and not having excuses like Zionists and Catholic Church will have you believe is acceptable. I don't believe that. We all have the Word of God written on our hearts. We know what's right and wrong. In Ethiopia, they teach their communities, their church leaders, teach their community that it isn't Satan's fault. You did something. You're responsible for it. Not even that dark entity. That's between him and God. Take responsibility for yourself. teach your children to take that responsibility. Just because somebody whispers in my ear a- and I choose to do something doesn't make what I did that entity's fault. Now, granted, we don't excuse that dark force. No, that's not what I'm getting at. I'm getting at the honor that these people are teaching their offsprings and the people in the world to take responsibility between the two differences of the forces on this planet. And they have some other beliefs that I can really relate to, that most people looking at things logically, you'd probably agree. But if you're Catholic, do what you want. That priest is going to absolve you of sins that the Ethiopians take responsibility for themselves. So, yeah, that's what I've been thinking lately. How different forms of Christianity has they've either been added to or watered down, or things have been so twisted and misconstrued. I'm just trying to get people to understand that the texts were changed and what you're quoting and reading and telling people isn't accurate. Now, I'm not promoting that you go out and swear at people, but there's places, there's, I think, ironically, 66 places in the scriptures where Jesus wasn't so nice. He swore at people. Do you know he told one woman to go down and eat with the dogs because that's where she belonged? On the floor. He said, go down on the floor by my feet and eat with the dogs. Does that sound really Christian? Well, it is. It's in the Hebrew Bible. It's not in the Hebrew. It's probably a little different, maybe not. I'll have to, in fact, that's a good one to look up in the Greek. But yeah, when people think that um, God has no hate for people, there's energies that were meant to be destroyed in these times. You know, it's probably not somebody that you love or like, or that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not calling for people to just go out there and cuss other people out, but I'm not telling you to be silent. That's what they want. Demons hate to be swore at. I've been surrounded but nothing but demons my entire life. Witchcraft, Masonic crap, all of it, attacking me constantly. When I can't stand enough, I've had too much, my mouth will get the best of me. And I don't regret it. I don't have any remorse when my wrath is there and their mercy is vacant. These are the times we're living in. If you don't think we're in the revelation time, then nothing I'm saying to you is probably going to matter. But the Antichrist comes first. There's many of them, yes. But look at our world. The Antichrist is here, right? Can we all agree on that? Where do you think he came within the scriptures where it said Christ can't be found in the church? You know. So I just wanted to point out a few things that most Western Christians believe, and they think they're sinning when they're not. Getting angry at somebody and telling them where to get off, that is not a sin. It may not be very pleasant, I'll grant you that. But it takes a lot when my patient runs out patience, and I'm a very patient woman that has been tormented to death. And don't tell me I need to overlook it this time. No, it's not. These are lies and scriptures and texts that have been twisted and used against people for hundreds of years, and I will not be silent about it. And I've got proof out here. I have videos proving when the language changes took place and the to coin terms that weren't previously there, adding and taking away vowels, because there's certain aspects of the Greek Septuagint that were not and are not available in the Hebrew. And a lot of people think that the Hebrew is the original. Even some people that are quoting like stuff from Ethiopia. That doesn't mean that there weren't any Jews like in Crete or whatever, but that also doesn't mean that they were advanced and had those texts that it, even in Hebrews, they're talking about the 72 rabbi that got together and translated from the Greek into the Hebrew and what was or was not acceptable, canonized. And I can tell people these facts and you're still ignoring it. The Greek Septuagint, like Alexandria Library, the Greeks were advanced. They had medical, they had music and art, and they were the scholars and the philosophers, um, the doctors, democracy, all the things that we see as civilization came out of that culture, including what the what Judaism claimed for themselves to push on the rest of the world to take control over our texts and our history, not theirs. I even have some of that bloodline in me. That's who my real parents are and were. What I'm talking about, I know absolutely the facts, you know. I can tell you to dig deeper and learn a little more, or you can really realize that what I'm telling you is the truth. So when you're out here feeling superior to other people, I mean, you might have thought something wrong about like not lowering your gaze or something towards another human being and never said a cuss word in your whole life. Whereas somebody like me may not, or I may have that lowering my gaze under control, but I'm going to tell somebody to F up who's superior, you know, who's got the upper hand in that situation. Do you see what I'm saying? So, yeah, just be careful. I mean, sharing the word with people is a beautiful thing if it's the accurate language in the real word. A book shouldn't promote incest, rape, sacrifices, armies, killing. I mean, if you don't see that this is the Baphomet in that book and the true God has been hidden, they're getting you to accept that um, polygamy and slavery, like, oh, we just took our slave and made her our concubine because we couldn't have any children. What? And then they don't tell you that these slaves weren't even adults. They don't tell you that the um, disciples were not old men. They were children. The oldest one was like 17 or 18 years old. I think it was like Thomas and Peter were like 9 and 13. These types of things people don't understand. They don't understand the human trafficking that still goes on under the guise of keeping you quiet and making these things that are from like Talmudic teachings acceptable for Christians by twisting the truth. And I'd rather die than lie. I don't know about you, but the truth has always been my thing. And when I found out what the code was in the King James and started learning it for myself, this is what I'm telling you. You have to look into mythology. You have to look into lores and migration of people and migrations of languages, which they do have a really cool app for now where we can prove where languages went to and if they turned into like a Koine type of thing, which means added to by another language, not the original, you know? Like if I move to another town and they use a different type of slang and we mixed our two languages, you know? You may not come out with the original meaning of what something was. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. It's my big respect for people that take responsibility and don't leave it up to any kind of priest or pastor or another human being to take responsibility and not make excuses for the things that we do. And I just wanted to point out that's just one major difference in their texts that are far older than um, anything in this Western world that is being pushed as Christianity, which is Zionist, which is Satanism in the underlying. Go, make your sacrifices now and drink some blood and eat the body and feel good about yourself and, all that good stuff because there was only one sacrifice according to Christians that are no longer following what it is to even be a Christian. Just like the Crusaders going into like Cromwell back in the medieval times and demolishing churches and taking them over and forcing their religion on people that already believed in God. So just think about that. It's all true. When I'm saying it's documented and I can prove it. I mean, you could too if you took the decades that I've got into doing this. And maybe by my age, you'll be there. I started pretty young, though. Pretty dang young with language and all different religions. So, okay, I hope this kind of helped somebody a little bit or something. Have a really good night or day wherever you're at. Peace from Pine City, Minnesota, USA.